Hello, and you're watching The Breakdown on ThePapare.com, and this week we have some wonderful news coming to us from the Tuskers Sri Lanka national team. They are taking part in the Asia Rugby Championship Division 1, Shanaka. They faced Philippines, which was a difficult hurdle, but they got over it comfortably in the end.
I was really surprised to see how easily we got over that game, Sudarshana, because Philippines is always a tough side. There are guys who are playing professionally in Australia, playing in the States, and these guys are professional rugby players, so it's not just a hodgepodge outfit that we're playing. But the Volcanoes looked like they hadn't trained too much, and Sri Lanka looked like they had. So it was a great combination. I thought the forwards were absolutely outstanding. I thought the tight five worked really hard, and ball carrying support, all that was really good. They competed well at the breakdown, and it was the 4 penalties from Trinity Vijayasinghe that was the difference between the two sides, because both teams scored 2 tries each. But I think the discipline of the Philippines let them down, and I thought we got away with a few things, but I think by far and away we were the more disciplined side. I thought Fernando was outstanding.
Absolutely. The physicality of our forwards were something to be commended about. But Shanaka, looking at the game, going forward into the Malaysia game, which will be the most difficult one, I think we have to address that centre field defence, because Philippines managed to go through that quite a few times.
They went through that, and the problem for me was how easily they went through that, Sudarshana. It wasn't a complex move. It was just a fullback coming in at a nice angle, and Ranjan was left wanting. So I think the 13-14 channel is where they really need to concentrate on. They need their fullback. Again, Tirina is great with the boot, but he needs to be able to marshal his defence and watch where the guys are coming from. And this is the other problem with Jason Dissanayake playing on the blind side. Flank. He's the faster player, so if he plays on the open side in the defensive scrums, I think that might be a little bit helpful, because he can get across the field, and once that fullback hits the gap, he's a guy that can come and cut him down there, whereas the other forwards, Muthutanthri or Tariq Sali or whoever plays there, or even Omal Gunaratna, they might not have the pace to get across as quickly as they need. So I think that's something they need to look at. Again, when Tariq Sali was sin binned, I saw Jason packing down on the blind side instead of coming to the open side when the ball is fed in at the left. So these are little things that third row players need to understand, and then he needs to come in and help his number 8 to channel that ball quickly instead of packing down on the blind side. So a few things that I thought were really needed to be fixed quickly, but the Emirates game should be an easy game. We need to fix those things, and if we do, I think the Malaysia game will be a big one.
Absolutely. So there you go. Sri Lanka will be playing United Arab Emirates on Wednesday. That's tomorrow. And let's take a look at the Islands Rugby Circles. Penultimate week of Sri Lanka Single Schools Rugby League happened last weekend, and we had some thrillers. First up, we had Zahira College taking on St. Peter's in Maradana after a while, and second half surge by St. Peter's took the game.
Yeah, it was a good performance by the Peterites. They've become much better since that win against Trinity, and they've had more confidence, I think, and obviously their fitness has been improved in leaps and bounds as well, because they're coming back and really winning games in the second half to be able to score the kind of points that they scored in the second half. What was it, 20 odd points that they scored in that second half, so that was good, especially without Steven Sivaraj playing in the fly half position. They lost him early on in that game and still managed to play well. So Fernando will be happy and pretty proud of his man of the match performance with the rest of his team.
Also, Shanaka, something that you mentioned last week as well, Zahira, you mentioned that they may have reached the tipping point, and it was clearly shown in this game, because come second half they didn't have the same depth to compete against St. Peter's, who are a team who've been in the A division year in, year out.
This is something I said about Sen Thomas as well a little while earlier on social media, Sudarshana, and the problem with the good teams, the top 4 teams, say Wesley, Royal, Trinity, Isipathana, you've probably got about 40 or 50 guys turning up for training, and a coach needs that to be able to pick the best 23 for his game. So rugby is not a 15-man game anymore, and I think that's the problem that sides like Sen Thomas's, sides like Zahira have been having recently, because they don't have the depth of players to choose from, and they don't have the depth of quality as well. So that's a little bit of a problem for them, and it's shown in this second round of games. Neither team have managed to win a game so far, so that's going to be a little problematic when it comes to the second half, especially with the conditioning. And it's a fatiguing sport now, Sudarshan. I mean, back in the day, you used to have an easy game, and then you used to have a hard game, and then you have another easy game. But now every week is a tough game, especially when you're a bottom place side. So it's going to tell on your bodies. It's going to tell on the conditioning, the fitness, all that kind of thing, and players mentally also go down when they know that they're up against a team that's physically stronger than them. So I think that's the problem that teams like Zahira and Sen Thomas need to address before next year.
Moving on to the next game that we had, Sen Thomas lost another trophy to St. Joseph's. They play about 6 trophies a year, but so far this year they've been unlucky, losing everything that they've played.
Yeah, I think it was 2013 was the last time we won all the trophies on offer, Sudarshana. So that's something that obviously needs to be addressed by the St. Thomas's rugby machine. But again, like I said, it sounds like I'm repeating myself, but it's the same problem. They're a young team, and physically I don't think they're at the place where they can compete with these big boys yet. And St. Joseph's, despite the fact that they started slowly, they've got their combinations right now. They're a very physical team. That front row with guys like Gregory and Muller in that front row, they're big, strong guys. So when they're hitting you, you stay hit, and that's opened up gaps for the guys like Gamanu Chetia and Vinul Fernando to run through, and they have been doing that really well. So I thought it was a really good performance by St. Joseph's, because I think in this game particularly, St. Thomas's didn't play as badly as the scoreboard shows. It shows 26-12. I think the game was closer than that. And even against Isipathana, it was 41-12 or 41-21 to St. Thomas, to Isipathana. And it wasn't a 20-point gap when you watched the game. And even here, I don't think it was a 26-12 gap. But that first half blitz from St. Joseph's just took the game away.
Absolutely. Adding on to what you said, the first half blitz from St. Joseph's, and second half performance for St. Thomas's has been the problem this season for them. But this game, 7-26 was the score in the first half. Come second half, St. Thomas's managed to defend their line. 26 was the score for St. Joseph's, and St. Thomas's managed to get another try on their board. So they have plenty hard. And the good thing for the Thomians is that only about 4 to 5 players are leaving this outfit. So the heart that they gather in this round will come in good stead for the next round.
Well, I think so. And I think watching Thomian rugby over the course of this season, Sudarshana, the only performance that I think we can be unhappy about is the performance against Royal. But all the other performances, especially against Trinity, against Zahira, against even the games that have been lost, they've really gone down fighting. Especially Isipathana, I thought they showed a lot of promise in that game. But it's just that there's one hurdle too far in terms of physicality, in terms of experience, and that will fix itself if they take the right steps over the next course of the next year or so. But you can't buy heart, Sudarshana, and that this Thomian side has shown a lot of heart, a lot of grit that St. Thomas's is famous for. So I think that's really good from a Thomian point of view. But St. Joseph's will be happy now. They've got a trophy in their bag, and that's the big thing for them. They've beaten St. Peter's, they've beaten St. Thomas's. Those are 2 big games for them. So even the fact that their early season wobbles a little bit, I think the way they're ending the season will be quite good for them.
Sachit Silva was the standout player for the Josephians, collecting the ThePapare Player of the Match accolade, and also Silva managed to get 2 tries and 3 penalties, and is the highest point scorer so far in the league with 97 points, just 3 points adrift from that century.
Yeah, he is, and I think it's been a good performance from him. He's come into that fly half position and changed the game a little bit. I think ever since Chatura Senivaratna moved to number 12, he's a big, strong ball carrier, and since he's moved, they're not kicking as much, and they're running a little bit more because Senivaratna love to kick down the field. So I think that has made a big change for St. Joseph's as well. So kudos to them for making those positional shifts when they had to.
Moving on to the next 2 games, we had some crack-a-lacking games, top 4 clashing with each other. First up, we have Royal College hosting Wesley College. Wesleyites came into this game with only 1 loss, and much was expected of them, but Royal's form was too much for Wesley to handle.
Well, the one thing about Royal is that they know how to absorb pressure. Sudarshana. So that's something that's really good about them. They're like a sponge. They soak it up, soak it up, soak it up, and then they hit you back. And because you've been throwing so much at them and you're not getting much reward for your pressure, then that really disheartens you. So Wesley just threw everything at Royal in that first half an hour or so and only had 9 points to speak for it. They couldn't score a try, and so you go into half-time a little bit demoralized because you've been doing so much. You're up on the scoreboard, but you know the opposition have scored and it's only a 2-point gap. So that's the problem as far as Wesley College were concerned. They couldn't turn the pressure into points.
Absolutely. Hamza Reza in that game, again touching down twice. This boy has changed the complexion of that Royal set of forwards, and he's leading from the front when it comes to Royal, because initially in the season, Royal had a problem with their driving maul, and whenever Royal has a problem with their driving maul, they have a problem with their aspect of the game. But Hamza Reza taking on that hooker position, he's making sure the lineouts are secured, and it has added some impetus to Royal.
I think he started off the season as number 8 and then he moved out to the front. Lennox Kalyanarathne coming into 8 from centre. So they've had quite a few positional shifts, and now I think they've found the ideal combination. So him going into that and sort of guiding that driving maul, it takes a lot of work, Sudarshan. A lot of people think that it's easy to do, that you just put your head down and just push, but that's not the way it works. When you know this, it's a very complex art of how to work that maul and try and get over the line, and I think Reza does that very well. And again, you know that there is often one guy or two guys in the forward pack that if you lose them, it's like you've lost 3 or 4 players, and Hamza Reza is one of those players. And I think if he's fit for the Bradby, which he is going to be fit, so that's going to be a big problem for the Trinity forward pack.
So there you go, Royal College basically running away when it came to the second half. 35 points to 19 was the score, and ended Double Blues' hopes of the league title. Moving on to the final game, Isipathana College travelled up to Kandy, Trinity's only second game at home, and Trinity College managed to break a 5-year hoodoo against Isipathana.
Yeah, I didn't realize that before the game that Trinity hadn't beaten Isipathana for 5 years, so that was a big deal for them. It was a close game, though. It was only 15 points to 10. That's how it finished. But again, scoreboard shows the level of dominance that Trinity had, because I think you dominated the set pieces and you just didn't allow, you managed to constrict Isipathana's attacking weapons, especially Chamod Fernando, didn't allow him any counter-attacking ball, rushed up on Sumuduran Kotke. So constriction-wise, I thought they did really well, and that's going to be something that they're going to have to do when it comes to the Bradby as well. So this was a really good warm-up for the Bradby. It was a pressure game, though, and in the last few minutes, it still could have gone the other way. There was stuff that went on that Trinity supporters will not be too happy about. But if they can close out games, if they can deal with pressure, and I think now maybe this confidence boost of beating Isipathana and getting over that 5-year hex, I think that might be what they need going into the Bradby again at home.
Shanaka, one thing I like to mention is Trinity won that game purely on their defensive performance, because they hit Isipathana very hard. Especially we saw the player of the match for ThePapare.com, Avisha Priyankara, flying off from the defensive line for a tackle, and when you see your prop forward doing that, it lifts you up and you want to go do the same thing. So I thought personally Trinity won the game through their defensive performance.
I agree completely, just like Royal won against Wesley through their defensive performance. So both those defenses are going to be sorely tested when it comes to the Bradby as well, Sudarshana. So I think Trinity will be happy about the defensive performance they put in, especially given the fact that the last time they did this was probably against Wesley in the first match of the season, that they managed to shut out a team and still score points. So they've had a few injuries, Trinity, and that's going to be a problem for them. As far as I'm concerned, their best player is out, and so that's going to be a little bit of an issue for them going through. But I think physically they showed that they can match a team that has already beaten Royal College this season, and that Isipathana team beat Royal also in a very physical battle. So I think it sets up one of the most mouth-watering Bradbys that I can remember in recent history.
One concern for Trinity would be the problem that Isipathana forwards were about 40 kilograms less heavy than Trinity, and managed to drive them through a driving maul. Bilal Hassan's influence coming in. So with Royal, that's going to be a bigger problem. So they need to get their sacking art right.
They need to get it right. The other problem is they need to also make sure they don't concede penalties, because Sri Lankan referees have been very ambivalent on how they blow the sack, Sudarshana. And if you're wondering what a sack is, it's when you pull the jumper down just as he hits the ground without allowing for a maul to form. So referees are the line is very blurred between sacking and collapsing. So Trinity have to be mindful that they don't actually concede penalties at line-out time, and at the same time they got to make sure that that maul doesn't get any momentum. So I haven't seen teams standing off yet. I haven't seen teams standing off a maul and then going in for that chop tackle on the ball carrier and trying to force the free kick or something like that. So maybe they need to work on something, but the difficulty is if you haven't done something all season, coming to your biggest match of the season, then trying something new, that might not be the way to go as well. So unless you're a very, very smart team, which I hope Trinity is, I don't think it's something that they should try just at this last moment.
Standing off was done by St. Anthony's against the Yes, but then again the referee decided to continue the play, so there is a problem there as well. Coming back to the penalty instance that you spoke about, Shanaka, against Isipathana, Trinity had 16 penalties that they conceded, which is going to be a big problem, because forget line out time, conceding 16 penalties would give Royal 16 line outs to work with.
Exactly. I'm just going to be upfront and say if you concede 16 penalties against Royal, you're going to lose the game. And you're going to lose the game comfortably. Because wherever that penalty is considered, Royal are going to kick it out. They're going to maul from the line out. And if you have to defend 16 rolling mauls for the course of that game, your forwards are going to be knackered by the time 60-minute mark comes around. And Royal are good enough to exploit that outside. Janitha Dushan has been really outstanding outside. And we haven't spoken too much about Tuleb Hassan, but that 12-13 combination is working really well, especially in defense. So if Trinity are disciplined, they have a chance. If they concede 16 penalties like they did last week, they're out of it.
So there you go, a mouth-watering crash is on the hands. Bradby first leg. Bradby is always something that a lot of people look forward to, but this time around, first time in history, we have the league to be decided in Kandy, in Pallekele. Trinity will be hoping to end a 30-year drought, whereas Royal, who are arguably the best team that has come into the second round and the team in the best peak or in the best form, will be looking to get their arch rivals down and win the first leg alongside the league trophy. Shanaka, last week we had a question: will Wesley College be dark horses? Both of us agreed that they have a very good chance, but unfortunately Wesley fell down. We had a lot of comments supporting the Wesleyite as well. Thank you so much. But this week I have a very difficult question. You know what's coming. First leg of the Bradby title decider. Who do you think has a better chance?
Who do I think has a better chance as opposed to who I think is going to win? Who do I think has a better chance, Royal? Who do I think is going to win? I don't know.
Alright, so there you go. Shanaka siding with Royal. I of course think that Trinity will have a better chance just because they are playing their game at home. Because Pallekele is not a very easy place to travel to. And so here the opinion is divided, and we invite you to comment on our page and also on the YouTube, for our YouTube viewers to comment and let us know who do you think will win the Singer Schools League title in the 2017 season. And until next week, I'm Sudarshana signing off alongside Shanaka Amrasinghe on The Breakdown, sharing the passion.